In today's video, we're going to continue with and finish up the main questline featured in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Last time, we made our way around every major city in Cyrodiil and asked the Count or Countess to send aid to Bruma. In exchange for this service, we had to close the Oblivion gates that were threatening each city. Once we received help from every single possible institution, we made our way back to Cloud Ruler Temple and spoke with Martin. Martin told us that the next thing he needed in order to open a gate to Mankar Camoran's paradise was the blood of a divine. We were directed over to the Sankar Tor fortress, and from within, we set free the spirits of 4 different ancient blades and recovered the armor of Tiber Septim. Returning yet again to Cloud Ruler Temple, Martin then tells us the third thing he needs to open the portal is a great Welkin stone. We're directed over to the alien ruin of Miskarkand, and from here we battle the undead as well as a clan of goblins to retrieve the ancient Aliad vessel for magic. Making our way once more back to the temple, we see that Martin is clad in a full heavy set of armor. We speak with him and he says that the last ingredient he needs is a great sigil stone. In order to retrieve it, we must open the great gate that the whole city of Bruma feared. We send word to the Countess of Bruma of our plans, and through this, she meets with Martin in the chapel of Talos. The Countess agrees, and together, with all of the help we garnered from the fellowing cities of Cyrodiil, along with some blades, and Martin himself, we battled against the forces of the Daedra. Our task was to hold out long enough for the great gate to open. Once all 3 lesser gates opened, finally the bigger portal appeared. Our forces were slowly getting killed off, and Martin's life was severely at risk. Without a second thought, our task was to run off from the battle and enter inside. This is where our story continues. We spawn inside of the Great Gate and see sights that we haven't quite seen before. These 2 massive gates in front of us open and we receive a quest update. Slowly making its way towards the portal is the Daedric siege engine, the very same one that destroyed the city of Kvatch, and if we don't hurry, the one that will destroy the city of Bruma. We're immediately met with a few Daedric threats. We face off against a Storm Atronach as well as a Zivili. They aren't too difficult to defeat, but it's here we learn that their presence is actually a distraction. We slay them and take a look on either side of this small island we're on. There are 2 doors, both leading to something called the World Breaker Guard. We decide to scale the edges towards the Daedric siege engine when all of a sudden, in the top left corner, we receive a notification that we only have 13 minutes left to close the Great Gate. This is the first time that we've actually had a time limit in order to get through the dungeon. Usually, we're able to take our sweet time, but not here. Thinking we could outsmart the level, we continue to hop around and explore our acrobatics when we find a door leading to an underground area. The zone is called the Smoke and Scorch, yet something doesn't feel quite right about it. With time ticking away, we make our way back to the World Breaker Guard entrance and go through the door facing the east. We pull the lever and ride the spike trap up. We begin to ascend the ramp when we're cut off by some Daedric forces. It's an NPC called a Dremora Fadenaz. This is the first time I think we fought them, or at the very least this is the first time I'm noticing that we fought them. They're definitely less difficult than Dremora Kin Marchers, so the battle wasn't too harsh. After its defeat, we ascend all the way up to the tower and take the exit back out into the plains of Oblivion. From here we walk across a bridge and make our way into the next World Breaker Guard tower. We don't bother to descend down, as there's another door leading back out. We go through it and take yet another bridge to yet another tower. This time we descend all the way down, and when exiting through this door, find ourselves back on the lower levels of this world. This time we're on a small walkway that leads directly across from the siege engine. Here we battle with some more Daedra and find ourselves taking a pathway all the way up to the ramparts. The way through is blocked, however, so after we're done clearing out the remaining Daedra, we make our way inside the neighboring tower. Here we ascend all the way up and fight off some more Dremora Fadenaz. Once the way is clear, we activate the gate control lever and then return back outside. We see that the gates have opened and that now we can take the pathway leading to the central tower. Entering inside, the rest of the dungeon is a fairly familiar feel. We ascend up the tower and periodically fight new Daedra in each space. I will say though, the nice part about this World of Oblivion is the fact that it felt pretty straightforward as well as felt pretty quick getting to the Sigillum Sanguis. This was likely intentionally designed as we only have 15 minutes to get through it, which I will say that notification periodically popping up really puts some fire under our heels and makes us want to get out of here as quick as possible. As per usual, when we hit the Sigillum Sanguis, we like to just shoot straight for the Sigil Stone, and as soon as we got to it, you can definitely tell that there's a difference with this one. Its presence is a lot more menacing, and its size is overall a lot bigger. After retrieving it, we wait those few precious moments for the gate to close, and then before we know it, there's a flash of light. We're transported back to Cyrodiil and received a quest update that the Battle of Bruma has been won. With no time to spare, however, as it appears as though the siege engine was just about ready for use. The battle may have been won, but we definitely suffered a lot of casualties. All that remains alive is a lone Bruma guard, Ulrich Leland from Shadenhall, Joffrey of the Blades, and of course, Martin Septim. We turn around and see quite the sad sight. Boris, the young blade who began the game with us and trusted us when no one else would, lays lifeless amongst the Daedra. Even Captain Bird, the commander of the Bruma Guard, is dead. Having to shelve our feelings for now, we turn to Martin Septim and let him know of our victory.
We won a great victory here today. We now have the means to recover the Amulet of Kings from Mankar Camoran. But we need to act quickly. Camoran will not take long to recognize his danger. Remember, the portal closes behind you. Anything you need, carry it with you. I'll have the ritual ready in the Great Hall when you arrive. Farewell.
We ask Martin about the Oblivion Gate.
The only way to close all the Oblivion Gates forever is for me to relight the dragon fires in the Temple of the One. Our only hope is to recover the Amulet of Kings from Mankar Camoran.
We then ask him about the Mysterium Xarxes.
I have everything necessary for the ritual to use the Xarxes to open a portal to Camoran's paradise. Remember, the portal will close behind you, so you will need to take everything you need.
Exiting the conversation, we quickly turn over to Joffrey.
Once you're rested and equipped, you should have Martin open the portal to Camoran's paradise immediately. Don't give the enemy a chance to recover from their defeat.
We ask Joffrey about the recently slain Boris.
He served with honor. No blade could ask for higher praise.
For fun, we decide to get some dialogue out of the remaining two survivors.
We did it! We showed those damn Daedra a thing or two!
Congratulations on your victory. Your fame was well deserved, it seems.
With that, thus ends the quest, Great Gate. We make our way over to Cloud Ruler Temple and enter inside of the Great Hall. From within, we see Martin pacing back and forth. At the center of the room, we see the Great Sigil Stone along with the Great Welkin Stone floating in the air. It seems as though the ritual is ready, and all that we have left to do is to speak with Martin.
I have everything in place for the ritual. I'll open the portal whenever you're ready. I don't know what you'll find in Camoran's paradise. I do know the portal I create through the Mysterium Xarxes ritual will close behind you. You'll have to find another way back. I believe that Mankar Camoran acts as the anchor for paradise, just as a sigil stone anchors an Oblivion Gate in place. Kill Mankar Camoran, and you will unmake his paradise. Shall I open the portal to paradise? Are you ready?
We tell him to open the portal.
Farewell, my friend. Our fate is in your hands. Bring back the Amulet of Kings. Brace yourself.
Martin opens the gate over to paradise, and we enter on through. On the other side, we're met with a pretty accurate depiction. We get a quest update that we need to search for Mankar Camoran. It seems as though his paradise is all of the lovely things of Tamriel plucked and put into this one spot. However, it's not without its dark side, as soon we begin to hear a voice.
So, the cat's paw of the Septims arrives at last. You didn't think you could take me unawares, here of all places, in the paradise that I created. Look now upon my paradise. Gaia Alata in the old tongue, a vision of the past and the future.
Mankar Camoran is able to get inside our head and speak to us. It also appears as though Paradise isn't quite so lovely after all. Pretty much almost immediately we were attacked by a Daedroth, showing that this little haven has plenty of dangers to offer. We don't have a quest marker for Paradise, but there is a fairly obvious pathway in which it feels like we should follow. Very soon along the pathway, we see another human along the trail. Curious, we approach and speak with her.
You! How can you be here? No matter. You are too late to stop Lord Dagon's victory. Soon we will return to Tamriel to rule over it as lords. While you will remain here in the Eternal Garden forever.
We ask her about this Gaia Alata that Camoran mentioned.
Gaia Alata is the Master's name for this place. We usually just call it Paradise. This is the Savage Garden. At the top of that mountain lies the Terrace of Dawn, which leads up to Mankar Camoran's palace, Carrick a Gaelor. Beneath the mountain lies the Forbidden Grotto, the only way out of the Savage Garden.
We ask her about the Savage Garden.
We have all died in the Master's service. Here in Gaia Alata we are immortal, and wait to return to Tamriel after Lord Dagon's final victory.
We ask her about the Forbidden Grotto.
The Forbidden Grotto is the only way out of the Savage Garden. Those who earn the Master's favor are given the Bands of the Chosen and allowed to leave the garden.
We follow up on the Bands of the Chosen.
Those favored by the Master to wear the bands may enter the Forbidden Grotto and leave this Savage Garden forever.
We leave the conversation and continue along the pathway. From what we were able to gather, these so-called Ascended Mortals are likely just dead members of the Mythic Dawn. After dying, their souls get transported here in Mankar Camoran's paradise. In order to reach Camoran, we likely need to acquire these so-called Bands of the Chosen in order to go through the Forbidden Grotto.
Behold the Savage Garden, where my disciples are tempered for a higher destiny, to rule over Tamriel Reborn. If you are truly the hero of destiny, as I hope, the garden will not hold you for long. Lift your eyes to Cairek Agailor, my seat at the pinnacle of paradise. I shall await you there.
We continue onwards and fight a few more Daedra along the path. There comes to a point where the path splits off, and it seems as though going in one direction, we can find some more Ascended Immortals to speak to.
Are you here to end this nightmare and free us all from the Savage Garden?
This time, hearing a different narrative, we ask about the Savage Garden.
Everyone here died in the Master's service. As the Master promised, we are now immortal, like the Daedra. But our life here is a nightmare. The creatures of the garden torment us endlessly. When they kill us, we are soon reborn and the cycle begins again. No one has yet found a way to leave the garden, except those few given the Bands of the Chosen and allowed to enter the Forbidden Grotto.
We press her on the Forbidden Grotto.
The only way out of the Savage Garden. Only those wearing the Bands of the Chosen may enter the Forbidden Grotto, but they never return. So we don't know what fate awaits them. Only those wearing the bands can enter the Forbidden Grotto. No one who enters the grotto ever returns.
It's now that we hear some slightly differing opinions on Mankar Camoran's paradise. It sounds as though Gaia Alata treats its mortal subjects the same way any other Daedric realm treats theirs, with cruelty and torture. We eventually stumble upon a fork in the road. To the right is a pathway leading all the way to a strange doorway. Approaching us from said pathway is a Dremora. We ready our weapon, yet this one does not. In fact, it approaches and speaks with us.
You destroyed the Sigil Tower at Ganona. My kin say you fought well.
We say that we've never heard of Ganona.
Our clan sacked your city of Kavach, a trifling task fit for scamps. Your swift retribution earned you much respect among my people. We had not expected that a mortal would act with such resolution and honor. It is no dishonor for us to speak.
We tell Cathutet that we seek Mankar Camoran.
You speak directly, like one of my people almost. I'm glad I did not kill you immediately.
We ask what it wants.
There is but one way out of the garden. I guard that path. You will travel that path, and it will bring me honor to defeat you. But you shamed my kin at Ganona. To bring you into my service, that would also bring me honor. So I offer you a choice. Would you confront me in battle, or offer me service?
We say that we have some questions.
You are impertinent, mortal. I did not offer to answer questions.
For fun and out of curiosity, we pledge service.
An intriguing choice. And I have a task in mind that will test your wit and your loyalty. The rabble of the Savage Garden have imprisoned the Zibalai Anaxes. I consider his humiliation a fitting punishment. However, his shame attaches to me, and though the matter is too small for my attention, it is not too small for one of my servants. Free Zibalai Anaxes, and I shall reward you with the key to the Forbidden Grotto, the Bands of the Chosen. Mankar Camoran's chattels, the unmortals that swarm here in the Savage Garden, their proper role is to test themselves in unceasing combat. But, being no true immortals, they are without honor or courage, and shy from battle. However, by some trick, they trapped one of my agents, the Zibalai Anaxes, in a cave. They show initiative, and Anaxes doubtless deserves humiliation. But I cannot permit this to continue. Do me this service of freeing Anaxes, and I will reward you with the Bands of the Chosen and passage to the Forbidden Grotto.
We ask further about Anaxes.
Mankar Camoran's chattels trapped the Zibalai Anaxes in a cave. He is their lord, and thus they mock him and me. Free Anaxes and restore order to the garden, and you shall have the Bands of the Chosen. At Mankar Camoran's command, a favored few are given the Bands of the Chosen and may leave the Savage Garden. You cannot pass through the door to the Forbidden Grotto unless you wear the bands. The one path from the Savage Garden is through the Forbidden Grotto. Only those wearing the Bands of the Chosen are allowed to leave the garden.
We exit the conversation with Cathutet. At this point, we now have a quest marker to find Anaxes. As it turns out, the pathway leading left at the fork in the road is the one we must take to find Anaxes' lair. We fight some more Daedra along the way, and at the end of it, find the door leading inside. Upon entering, we see 3 different ascended immortals wandering around. At the far end of the cave, we notice a boulder reinforced by some logs, blocking off a small entrance, and this is likely where they're keeping Anaxes prisoner. We speak with one of the immortals to see what's going on.
What do you want, mortal?
We ask about Anaxes.
He's trapped at the back of the cave. It took us weeks to prepare the trap, and he killed us many times before we finally succeeded. The lesser creatures of the Eternal Garden still torment us, but Anaxes was the worst. He toyed with us, prolonging our deaths for his pleasure. You must not release him, for pity's sake.
Feeling very little amounts of pity, we rush over to the logs and dislodge both of them. In an instant, Anaxes blasts through the boulder and kills one of the immortals. He then works his way around and kills the second. Fortunately, Anaxes doesn't aggro onto us, so we're free to leave his lair and head back to the crossroads where we met Cathatet. It seems as though Cathatet made their way back into the doors from which they came from. We approach and enter into the flooded grotto. It appears as though the flooded grotto hosts both ascended immortals as well as various hostile Daedra. We fight our way through an abundance of them until finally we lay eyes on Cathatet. We approach and speak with them.
Anaxes is free. Order is restored to the Savage Garden. You have served me well. In return for your service, I will give you the key to the Forbidden Grotto, if you still wish it.
We ask for the bands.
Take these bands of the Chosen then. Wear them, or you cannot enter the Forbidden Grotto, the only way out of the Eternal Garden. Honor and pride bids me tell you, none can escape the Forbidden Grotto. There, you will be the charge of my kinsmen, or they.
We exit the conversation with Cathatet and approach the door behind them.
How little you understand. You cannot stop Lord Dagon. The principalities have sparkled as gems in the black reaches of Oblivion since the first morning. Many are their names and the names of their masters. The cold harbor of Meridia, Periite's quagmire, the 10 moon shadows of Mephala and Dawn's beauty, the princedom of Lorkon, misnamed Tamriel by deluded mortals.
We're unable to get inside of the Forbidden Grotto without equipping the bands of the Chosen. Taking a look at them, their light armor have an overall armor rating of 1 for us, and have the curse of a weakness to fire for 50%. We put them on. It's here that Mankar Camoran delivers to us a very long speech.
Yes, you understand now. Tamriel is just one more Daedric realm of Oblivion, long since lost to its prince when he was betrayed by those that served him. Lord Dagon cannot invade Tamriel, his birthright. He comes to liberate the occupied lands. Ask yourself, how is it that mighty gods die, yet the Daedra stand incorruptible? How is it that the Daedra forthrightly proclaim themselves to man, while the gods cower behind statues and the faithless words of traitor priests? It is simple. They are not gods at all. The truth has been in front of you since you first were born. The Daedra are the true gods of this universe. Julianos, Dibella, and Stondar are all Lorcan's betrayers, posing as divinities in the principality that has lost its guiding light. What are scholarship, love, and mercy when compared to fate, night, and destruction? The gods you worship are trifling shadows of first causes. They have tricked you for ages. Why do you think your world has always been contested ground, the arena of powers and immortals? It is Tamriel, the realm of change, brother to madness, sister to deceit. Your false gods could not entirely rewrite history. Thus you remember tales of Lorcan vilified, a dead trickster whose heart came to Tamriel. But if a god can die, how does his heart survive? He is Daedroth, Tamriel I Daedroth. This heart is the heart of the world, for one was made to satisfy the other. You all remember this. It is in every legend. Daedra cannot die, so your so-called gods cannot erase him from your minds completely.
Although Mankar Camoran is a dangerous radicalist, he does mention some very thought-provoking things. It's now that we enter inside of the Forbidden Grotto. The Flooded Grotto had a blue sort of calm aura around it. However, the Forbidden Grotto has a sinister and quite eerie red glow to it. Not to mention, in most areas, there are people being tortured in cages. The main two noises you hear in this area are the sounds of lava and the sounds of people grunting. There are also several enemies within, including more Daedra as well as Mythic Dawn cultists. After clearing the first area, another Mythic Dawn member rounds the corner. We ready our weapon, but again, similar to Cathatet, this one prefers to talk to us.
You wear the bands, but you're no prisoner. Who are you? What are you doing here?
We decide to see where honesty leads us and tell him that we're here to kill Mankar Camoran.
Can you really do it? Can you bring this eternal nightmare to an end? Can you defeat Mankar Camoran and free all the souls of the poor fools who followed him? Listen, I can help you. You need my help if you are ever to leave the Forbidden Grotto.
We ask him who he is.
I was one of Mankar Camoran's chief lieutenants. I helped plan the Emperor's assassination. I opened the Great Gate at Kvatch. We were the chosen. We saw more clearly than ordinary mortals. We would destroy the world and remake it. Mankar Camoran was our leader, our teacher, our master. He had the secret knowledge. He dealt with Mehrunes Dagon as an equal.
We ask why would he help us?
I was at the sack of Kvatch. They had no chance. We took them by surprise, and we carried the walls in the first assault. But they fought on anyway, desperately. They seemed to think this decadent, mundane world of theirs was worth defending. I was slain after the battle was over. 3 townsfolk hiding in the cellar attacked me when I entered their house, hunting down survivors. They tore me to pieces, although I have no doubt they were immediately killed by my companions. I've had plenty of time to ponder my deed since I came here. Ponder and regret. An eternity of regret. For my weakness, the Master sent me here to torture my former comrades who showed similar ingratitude for his gift of eternal life.
We then ask how he can help us.
No one wearing the bands of the Chosen can leave this grotto. The doors will not open, and there is no other way out. I can remove them, but I will need time. The Dremora Overseer will be here any minute to check up on me. You need to play along until he leaves. Just act like a prisoner, and do as I say. Once Orthe leaves, we can find a quiet spot to remove these bands.
We agree to it and tell him we'll play along.
Good. Follow me, and don't worry. You can trust me.
We're definitely very weary to trust Eldamil, but we're also very curious to see where this leads us. We walk with him and see a high-ranking Dremora enter into the room with us. As we get closer, we see that it's the Orthe.
What's going on here? Who's this?
A prisoner, sent in by...
Show me some respect, worm. Unless you want to end up in the cages with them.
Yes, Kinreeve, sir. This prisoner was sent in by Cathatet for questioning. I was about to begin.
This is not one of Mankar Camoran's chattels from the garden. Who is he?
Nothing escapes your vigilance, Kinreeve. Cathatet wondered as well. This is why he sent him for questioning.
Well, carry on.
Of course, Kinreeve. Prisoner, get in the cage.
Hesitantly, we wander towards the open cage and enter inside. We're beginning to become a lot more suspicious of this little plan. The bars close behind us, and our cage begins to lower into the lava. We get extremely close, and wonder if he even might dunk us in. However, before we know it, the cage raises back up and Eldamil is alone.
There's no way for me to cross, but the Master's immortality does have its uses. I will distract the Dremora for as long as I can.
We get a quest update that until we can meet up again with Eldamil, we're to continue to make our way through the Forbidden Grotto. We turn around and see that the bars drop behind us. We exit the cage and proceed to move along. We're immediately met with some hostile Daedric forces. We sweep from room to room, killing whoever stands in our way. Eventually, we find another door similar to the last one we went through, which leads to the next zone of the Forbidden Grotto. As we cut around the first corner, we're approached by yet another cultist, which, lucky for us, happened to be Eldamil.
You made it! I didn't think you'd have any trouble. Let's get these bands off you. There. You're not a prisoner of the Forbidden Grotto any longer. Let me come with you. Let me help you kill Mankar Camoran. I am not without power.
We figure we got this far with him, so might as well.
I am no match for Mankar Camoran, but perhaps together we can find a way to defeat him. Lead on!
Well done, champion. Your progress is swift and sure. Perhaps you will reach me after all. You think I mock you? Not at all. In your coming, I hear the footsteps of fate. You are the last defender of decadent Tamriel. I am the midwife of the mythic dawn, Tamriel reborn. I welcome you, if you truly are the agent of fate. I tire of the self-styled heroes who set themselves in my path only to prove unworthy in the event.
Continuing onwards through the Forbidden Grotto, we now have Eldamil fighting by our side. He mainly casts shock spells, but occasionally when we get in close, he'll pull out his dagger as well. For the most part, due to him mostly using ranged attacks, he was able to stay out of our way relatively easily, and therefore he didn't catch any stray swings of our blade. Pretty quickly though, he jumped down into a pit of lava chasing after a spider Daedra. We knew there was likely no coming back for him, and as soon as the Daedra died, so did he. It was a shame too, because the very next enemy, a Zivalai named Madrake, happened to be the last one we needed to face in the Forbidden Grotto. As we ascended up a small ramp, we found the door leading back outside. Exiting, we were surprised and somewhat thrilled that Eldamil was actually standing with us. We knew that whatever died here doesn't stay dead, but we just didn't know that the reincarnation or the coming back to life process was so quick. Together, we ascend up a stairway and come to yet another fork in the road. To the right, there are two Mythic Dawn cultists who appear to want to have a conversation. To the left, there's a giant statue of Mehrunes Dagon. We check out the statue and see that there's nothing of interest, so now we head over to the two cultists and they approach us.
You did not expect to see me again, did you? You have no grasp of the power that my father has at his command. You think you can stop us? Soon Mehrunes Dagon will walk upon Tamriel for the first time since the Mythic Age, and our victory will be complete. Come. My father is waiting to welcome you to Karak Agayalor.
It turns out that the two cultists are Ruma and Raven Camoran. Ruma was there at the Dagon Shrine quest, and Raven was present during the Path of Dawn.
So, here you are at last, the lackey of the Septim Pretender. You still think you have a chance, don't you? We knew you would find your way here eventually, but it is of no consequence. You should not keep my father waiting any longer. He expected you hours ago. Come, you came here to see him, did you not?
Together, us, Eldamil, and the Camoran siblings enter inside of the Camoran hideout, Karak Agaylar. What's neat about this place is that it appears to be what an alien ruin would look like if it was still at its full glory and not destroyed. At the back of the room, we see the Mer himself, Mankar Camoran. We approach.
I have waited a long time for you, champion of old Tamriel. You were the last gasp of a dying age. You breathed the stale air of false hope. How little you understand. You cannot stop Lord Dagon. The walls between our worlds are crumbling. The mythic dawn grows nearer with every rift in the firmament. Soon, very soon, the lines now blurred will be erased. Tamriel and Oblivion rejoined, the mythic age reborn. Lord Dagon shall walk Tamriel again. The world shall be remade. The new age shall rise from the ashes of the old. My vision shall be realized. weakness will be purged from the world, and mortal and immortal alike purified in the refiner's fire. My long duel with the Septims is over, and I have the mastery. The Emperor is dead. The Amulet of Kings is mine. And the last defender of the last ragged Septim stands before me, in the heart of my power. Let us see who at last has proved the stronger.
We get a quest update that it's time to finish what we came here for. Raven and Ruma ready themselves and begin to attack. Interestingly though, Mankar doesn't move at all. Eldamil takes Raven while we take Ruma. Ruma goes down with just a handful of swings. Raven, on the other hand, requires a few more hits. During the chaos of the battle, and in an attempt to deliver the killing blow, we accidentally hit Eldamil one too many times. It's during the climax of the battle that this causes Eldamil to turn on us, and as soon as Mankar Camoran readies himself, Eldamil begins slashing away at our character, so we kill him and move on towards Mankar. Mankar summons a spider Daedra. Together, they drain our health really quickly. If it weren't for an emergency heal, we definitely would have died, but using Goldbrand, we were able to defeat him relatively quickly. We get inside of Cameron's inventory and take the Amulet of Kings. It's here that Karak Agailar starts to fall apart. We're assuming the same thing is happening all around Gaiar Alata. Unsure of what to do or where to go, we're met with a loading screen and instantly teleported back to Cyrodiil. Here we receive a quest update that we were successful in not only killing Mankar Camoran, which in turn destroyed his paradise and teleported us back, but also retrieving the Amulet of Kings.
Do homage to Martin's champion.
You found a way back. Does this mean...
We tell him Mankar Camoran is dead.
You did it. You defeated him. Then you have it. You have the Amulet of Kings.
We hand it over and tell him it belongs to him.
Belongs to me? The Amulet of Kings? So you and Joffrey have said, if it is true, if the Emperor really was my father, then I should be able to wear it. Only those of the Septim blood can wear the Amulet of Kings.
We tell His Majesty to put it on.
Yes, of course. What am I waiting for? After all, this is my destiny. And no man can deny his destiny.
We reaffirm him by telling him that he is Uriel's son.
I didn't really need the amulet to tell me that. I've known it was true since you first told me back in Kavach. But it is one thing to talk of becoming Emperor, and quite another to actually be the Emperor.
We say that he is the Emperor.
Not yet. Until we light the dragon fires, the gates are open, and Mehrunes Dagon's invasion continues. While you were gone, I sent a messenger to Chancellor Akato. He waits for us in the Imperial City.
We ask why meet with him.
Chancellor Akato is the head of the Elder Council. The Council rules in the Emperor's absence. I don't expect any objections from the Elder Council, but we should defer to their authority. Let's go to the Imperial City at once, before the enemy can recover from Mankar Camoran's death.
With Mankar Camoran dead, and the Amulet of Kings back in the possession of Martin Septim, all we need to do now is light the dragon fires. With that, thus ends the quest, Paradise. Before going anywhere, we speak with Joffrey.
Time is pressing. Martin must relight the dragon fires before the enemy can stop us.
We ask him about the dragon fires.
Once Martin uses the Amulet of Kings to light the dragon fires, the barriers between Oblivion and Tamriel will be restored. The Oblivion gates will close, and Mehrunes Dagon's invasion will have failed.
We then ask him about the Elder Council.
The Elder Council has been governing the Empire since the Emperor's murder. They will be overjoyed to have an heir to crown. They've been unable to solve the Oblivion crisis. The Empire is falling apart. Only a legitimate emperor offers any hope.
It's now time to officially depart Cloud Ruler Temple, hopefully this time for good. For this quest, Martin and Joffrey actually follow us, so wherever we go, they go. Before heading to the capital, we heard rumors of something interesting in the city of Bruma. By traveling over to the North Gate, we see that they put up a statue in our honor. It was designed based off of the armor that we were wearing during the time of closing the Great Gate and defending the city of Bruma. It's really neat to know that our character will be immortalized within Bruma's history for generations to come. It's now time to travel to the Imperial City. We make our way over to the stables first, in order to see if by arriving with Martin and Joffrey, if they'll receive a proper Emperor's welcome. Interestingly though, it appears as that they haven't followed us this far. There must be some sort of restriction placed on them in terms of traveling anywhere but the palace of the Imperial City. So naturally, we make our way over to the Green Emperor Way, and Martin is standing just outside of the doors.
Sire, Chancellor Okato is expecting you. He had word of your arrival in the capital.
Very well. Let's finish this.
Together with Martin, we enter inside of the palace. He makes his way inside of the Elder Council chamber, and we receive a quest update. It's now time for Martin to make a claim to the throne.
I've been expecting you. The full council has already considered the matter of Martin's claim to the Imperial throne in detail. Martin Septim, on behalf of the Elder Council, I accept your claim to the Imperial throne.
Chancellor Okato, the city is under attack. Oblivion gates have opened and Daedra are inside the walls. The guard is overwhelmed.
Courage, soldier. We have an emperor again. Your Highness, what are your orders? Shall the guard fall back to the palace?
No. If we let ourselves get besieged in the palace, we're doomed. We must get to the Temple of the One immediately.
As you command, sire. Guards, form up and protect the emperor. To the Temple of the One.
With barely any time for formalities, the Daedra have found a way inside of the Imperial City and are currently laying waste to the capital. Practically immediately, multiple Dremora Kinvals enter the Elder Council chamber and begin to attack Martin. Chaos breaks out as Blades, Palace Guards, and Chancellor Okato begin to fight back. We successfully fend off the immediate attackers, and as a squadron, exit the Imperial Palace in hopes of reaching the Temple of the One. Outside, the skies are crimson red and smoke is rising up all over the city. Even more Daedra are present out here, and an even bigger fight commences. We do a decent job at slaying our enemies, but we practically trade 1-for-1 with the palace guards, as they too keep dying. As soon as the area is clear, what little remains of our forces follows Martin to the Temple District. The Temple of the One is so close yet so far. Multiple Oblivion gates are opened within the vicinity, and hordes of Daedra are pouring out. The sounds of battle and war echo throughout the city. We try our best to fight back and clear up as many of the enemies as possible. All the meanwhile, we're trying not to accidentally attack our allies. Everything is extremely chaotic, and our numbers are getting lessened and lessened. All of a sudden, we receive one of the most terrifying quest updates possible. Mehrunes Dagon has made his way into Tamriel. He towers above all of the buildings and walls of the Imperial City, and one slash with his weapon is able to decimate an entire group of soldiers. All hope seems lost.
We're too late. Mehrunes Dagon is here. Lighting the dragon fires will no longer save us. The barriers that protected us from Oblivion are gone.
We ask if there's any way we can cast him back.
I don't see how. Mortal weapons may hurt him, but now that he is physically here in Tamriel, they have no power to actually destroy him.
We ask, what about the Amulet of Kings?
Wait, yes. The amulet was given to mortals by Akatosh. It contains his divine power. But how to use this power against Dagon? The amulet was not intended as a weapon. I have an idea, one last hope. I must reach the dragonfires and the Temple of the One.
We questioned before when he said it was of no use.
You'll just have to trust me. I know now what I was born to do, but I'll need your help. I have to get past Mehrunes Dagon somehow.
We assure him that we'll get him to the temple.
Then I'll do the rest. Lead on, my friend.
We tell him to follow us.
I'm with you.
We're immediately thrown back into the chaotic reality. All that really remains for our forces are a handful of Imperial soldiers and Chancellor Okato. We need to get by Mehrunes Dagon in order to get inside of the temple. We go right beside him and he aggroes onto Martin. He begins hacking and slashing away, but we're able to make a quick escape into the Temple of the One. We receive a quest update and follow Martin to the other side of the room. It's here he speaks with us one final time.
I do what I must do. I cannot stay to rebuild Tamriel. That task falls to others. Farewell. You've been a good friend in the short time that I've known you. But now I must go. The dragon waits. The amulet is shattered. Dagon is defeated. With the dragon's blood and the Amulet of Kings, we have sealed the gates of Oblivion forever. The last of the Septims passes now into history. I go gladly, for I know my sacrifice is not in vain. I take my place with my father and my father's fathers. The Third Age has ended, and a new age dawns. When the next Elder Scroll is written, you shall be its scribe. The shape of the future, the fate of the Empire. These things now belong to you.
Before we can do anything else, High Chancellor Okato comes running over to us.
What happened? Where's Martin? I must congratulate him. Mehrunes Dagon is defeated. Cast back into Oblivion. We've won!
We say that Martin is gone.
What do you mean, gone? We saw the temple dome explode. The avatar of Akatosh appear. That was Martin?
We say that he shattered the amulet.
The joined blood of kings and gods. The amulet of kings. The divine power of Akatosh.
We say, and Martin's blood too.
Then Martin is gone.
We say that the gates are now sealed.
Yes, sealed forever. Mehrunes Dagon and his ilk can never threaten Tamriel again. Martin is dead, but he died an emperor and a hero to rival Tiber Septim.
We ask, what about the Empire?
This victory is not without cost. We've lost Martin Septim. What an emperor he might have made. His sacrifice was necessary, but it leaves the Empire without an emperor. I don't know what happens now. There are troubled times ahead for the Empire. But now is not the time to worry about the future. Let's just give thanks that we're alive!
We ask Chancellor Okato further about Martin.
I know he's gone. As the Chancellor of the Elder Council, my concern now is how to choose his successor.
We ask about the Elder Council.
We are now the stewards of the Empire. We can hold the Empire together in the short term. But to be honest, I don't know what will happen. The provinces have been restive for years, even before the latest crisis. With no legitimate claimant for the Dragon Throne, troubled times lie ahead.
We ask about being named the Champion of Cyrodiil.
In my capacity as Lord High Chancellor of the Elder Council, I hereby proclaim you Champion of Cyrodiil. And, as a small token of gratitude for your service to the Empire, I have ordered a suit of Imperial Dragon armor made for you. You have earned the highest rank possible in the Order of the Dragon, the illustrious Order of Imperial Knights, founded by Tiber Septim himself. It is a high honor. Only 6 other champions have been awarded in the history of the Empire.
We then ask about the Imperial Dragon armor.
Imperial Dragon armor is normally worn only by the Emperor himself, but you deserve no less, champion.
Exiting the conversation and looking around, we see the aftermath for the Battle of the Imperial City. The avatar of Akatosh, Martin Septim becoming a dragon, is immortalized within this province's history. The Daedric invasion is over, and with that, thus ends the quest, Light the Dragonfires. Before leaving the temple, we speak with Captain Stefan.
What can I do for you, sir?
We ask him about Martin.
You were there. You saw his true nature. The blood of the dragon was revealed for all to see.
We then turn to speak with Joffrey.
A victory beyond hope. You and Martin defeated Mehrunes Dagon in the very moment of his triumph. All hail the champion of Tamriel.
We ask him about the Dragonfires.
I believe that Martin's sacrifice sealed the gates of Oblivion forever. Tamriel no longer needs the protection of the Dragonfires.
We then ask him about Martin.
He truly was the Dragonborn, the last and perhaps the greatest of all the Septims.
Finally, we ask him about Mehrunes Dagon.
Against all hope, Martin cast him back into oblivion. He will not trouble our world for long years to come.
Honestly, this part of the game leaves me with feelings that I can't quite process. We successfully stopped the Daedric invasion. Daedra can no longer enter Tamriel en masse. Martin Septim, the last heir of the Septim dynasty, sacrificed himself so that the rest of the world could live as free peoples and not suffer under the reign of Mehrunes Dagon. So many little, important, and catastrophic events led up to this moment, and it's all over with. It's completely done. I think the part that bugs me is that the rest of the NPCs just go about their business. It's not even just the unimportant and non-essential ones. It's the characters like Joffrey, the High Chancellor, Captain Stefan, the Countess of Bruma, all of the characters that played a part in the story, and it's as though life is able to continue on normally for them. It's for that exact reason that I'm glad we left the main quest until the end. After accomplishing such a feat, how could we go to something like the Fighters Guild, the Thieves Guild, the Mages Guild? How could we move on from a task that literally saved the world to ones like retrieving somebody's diary from a cave, killing somebody over a grudge, stealing a statue of somebody's dead wife, or clearing a cave of necromancers? Before continuing with my existential crisis, we have one more quest to get through. In order to receive the Imperial Dragon armor, we have to wait 2 full in-game weeks for the quest notification. Honestly, it seems as though the best way to do this is by taking your time, enjoying the remainder of the quests and adventuring you have left, and just letting the days and weeks go by naturally. Otherwise, you can do what we did, which was very boring, tedious, and time-consuming. We waited for 24 hours 14 different times. The unofficial Elder Scrolls pages details that there are some bugs that can happen while doing this quest. For full transparency, we ended up forcing a wait for over that 2-week period, and there was still no quest update on whether or not the armor was ready. So we had to do some in-game fiddling in order to get the notification. From here, we're directed over to the Imperial City Prison. We make our way over to the armory and enter inside. We're supposed to see the Imperial Dragon armor on the table in front of us. However, due to the bug we've encountered, it's not there. So we have to do some more in-game fiddling, and finally we have the complete set in front of us. After picking it all up, we receive our final quest update for the main storyline. Now, I don't know if it was because of the means by which we obtained the Imperial Dragon set, or if maybe it's not really that good for late game users, but the overall armor rating for it wasn't so great. The enchantments themselves were semi-decent, but to be completely honest with you, I would much prefer the current armor set we have. Gear choices aside, with the acquisition of the Imperial Dragon armor set, thus officially concludes the last quest featured in the main storyline of the Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion. So let's talk about what we liked and didn't like about the main questline. For starters, I really did enjoy the pacing of everything. I felt that the way each new quest, character, and plot point introduced was done in an effective timeline to where the player has enough time to digest and process the information. The characters we meet are fantastic. I really enjoyed Martin's humble yet confident demeanor in himself. Joffrey was nicely written to be the wise, cautious, and protective elder of the Blades. We didn't get to speak much with Emperor Uriel Septim VII in this game, but the brief moments he had were definitely way more impactful than most NPC interactions in Oblivion. The way our friendship and respect with Boris blossomed was really touching to get to be a part of. We started out a prisoner, and he a respected member of the Blades. We slowly grew to trust and count on one another as time went on. I liked Mankar Camoran's role in the game. I wish we saw a little bit more of him, especially earlier in the questline, perhaps at the Siege of Kvatch or during the Path of Dawn. We see a bit of him during Dagon's Shrine, and a lot of him during Paradise. The way he's able to enter into our minds and fill us with his opinions and views was a really great way to see just how crazy and dangerous he really was. It's that quest alone that saves him as a good antagonist for me. My highlight quests are most certainly the Path of Dawn, Dagon's Shrine, Defense of Bruma, Paradise, and Light the Dragonfires. Each of these quests had adventure and RPG elements within them that I always enjoy when I play these games. Picking my 2 favorite would be Dagon's Shrine, as I really enjoyed infiltrating, learning about, and taking out the headquarters of the Mythic Dawn cult, as well as Light the Dragonfires, as the battle for the Imperial City was epic, grand, and chaotically fun. There wasn't a whole lot that I didn't like while doing the main quest. I will say the main questline does feel as though it's better to complete early game. The loot we get and the enemies we face I don't feel are particularly balanced when you play as a level 20 plus character. I found the Oblivion Gates and fighting the hordes of Daedra to be quite challenging at times, even more so than if we were, say, a level 10 character. It easily could have been our build, playstyle, and gear that was holding us back, but it still felt as though dungeon crawling through Daedra and facing the higher leveled ones wasn't scaled as well as it should have been. The loot we get is, simply put, not very great for late game. Sure, as our level increases, so do the drops and tiers of weapons and armor available, but other than, say, the odd unique weapon, the Blade's armory, and the Imperial Dragon armor set, there isn't much else offered. My least favorite quests were Allies for Bruma, although that one is optional, so it really doesn't deserve to be so low, and there was a stretch towards the third quarter of the storyline where we were just doing dungeon crawl after dungeon crawl. The quests were Brumagate, Allies for Bruma, Blood of the Divines, and Misgarkand. Misgarkand seemed to be on the weaker side of storytelling for these quests, and it felt like at times that there should have been more story and plot points offered within it. Overall, the main questline was a great way to end off our game. As mentioned before, I had a bit of an existential dread thinking about how we were unable to move on from the events that transpired while all of the NPCs were coded to do so. I definitely think it was the right call to save this questline for last, as I think I would have had some trouble moving on to the next faction or DLC after this one. Honestly, I would put my experience and enjoyment while playing it up there at the top with the Shivering Isles DLC as well as the Dark Brotherhood questline. So, that's it. We've completed every notable quest, DLC, and storyline that Oblivion has to offer. There's technically still a few things we can explore, including lore, locations, official plugins like Mehrunes Razor and the Fighter's Stronghold. These are videos that we'll slowly work on and play through as time goes on. We'll do a wrap-up video for our overall experience while playing Oblivion, and I really look forward to moving on to the next game with you all. As per always, thank you everybody for your continued support while I've been on this crazy journey. Nothing would be possible without you all. Until next time, keep on adventuring.